of how the rest of the evening will play out. So we'll go with some more questions until 7:45, and then we will invite our candidates and you all to spend a little time mingling at the end. There might be other questions from the floor. We still have some food left outside. So we'll keep going with the questions until that time. The next question is, what concrete policies and actions will you as Mayor pledge to immediately implement to reduce council-controlled emissions in line with globally agreed emissions reduction targets?
Geez, I always get the hardest first, don't I? Look, I think the council already has some solid policies, and Paul touched on it earlier, that we've got to look at what we're doing federally and statewide. And I think the best policy is led by the federal and state governments. And we work with them, but we've also got to get, my thought process on it all is to go out to community, go out to NQCC, to make sure we're talking to the environmental groups. There's no point saying, this is our policy, this is the best way forward, this is going to be concrete. We've got to hear it first from the community, and we've got to hear it from people who are professionals in this industry.
Yeah, I agree with Troy Thompson. Yeah, we have to go to the state, federal and advisory bodies, listen to what they say. And I mean, it's not an easy thing to control emissions and that sort of thing. People need to go to work, people need to do things. I mean, we got electric buses, which is a good thing. So if we can share, cars going to work and things like that, instead of, one person going in the car. I think that, yeah, we got to work together, and also with the federal, state, and the world body on research of this. Thank you.
I think in the first instance, council needs to walk the walk and talk the talk, and be a leader in this. And we are doing we do have some very, very strong policies around it. One of the things that we are looking at is how we cool our buildings down, the use of solar panels on all our council facilities. Council owns a huge amount of, as you would know, buildings and depots in and around the city. So we need to look at smarter ways that we can implement these policies to reduce emissions and I think in the first place from a local perspective. And as I mentioned, we are very, very lucky to have a person of Greg Bruce's calibre leading our charge in this area. Thank you.
Yeah, when I first joined in 2024, the election there, we had a chance, council had a chance with the state government to actually put in a large solar array in Townsville, generate that power, put it as e-power, that they're doing now, that you can actually feed into the grid. So council could have had an offset to actually utilise that power on the normal Ergon line to actually start powering their workshops and the city and the air conditioning and all that sort of thing. So that would have been an offset from a large solar farm that would have been down near Cleveland, and we could have done that. But what can we do now, because that didn't eventuate? We can have a look at all our transport, our trucks, and they go for the normal Toyota Utes and these sort of things. No, what we've got to do now is go for plug-in hybrids. And they're even changing the rates in the middle of the day that we can utilise cheaper power. And a hybrid ute these days, like a BYDs, and that can do about 100 Ks on their battery. And I think that council's got to embrace that. They're a little bit dearer, but I think we've got to embrace that sort of thing. And also in the purchase of our garbage trucks and the larger trucks that are going around Townsville, we've got to look at the specifications of emissions more, and not just the actual, cost of those particular garbage trucks and these sort of things. So we've got to get a uniform, low emissions type vehicle, because they're the ones, they're going all the time, the trucks for garbage and recycling. So I think that's the start, but I'd still like to look at getting a large solar array and with batteries, so that we can actually feed the grid in certain times, but Townsville could utilise that power and cut our electricity bill by more than half. Thank you.
Thomas Edison looked up at the sun and said, that is the greatest source of power that we have on our planet. And when I was with council in 1991, I was so proud to work with the city, and Anne Burnell championed Solar City, and we were known nationally for being innovative. And if we join the Power Council, 175 other councils, they have new innovative ways that they are looking at council emissions. I agree completely with Anne-Marie that we need to show by leadership example, and that is the vehicles that we run. I notice, sir, you shaking your head to electric vehicles. So clearly there is indeed proper research. As an educated woman, that's where you start, is bringing those parties together. And indeed, looking at poor old Greg Bruce, there's 880 plus employees, and it sounds like Greg Bruce is the only one in there that's doing anything for the environment, and he's been there 35 years. So it's indeed time that we seek the community, whom I totally agree with Mr. Kippen, that the brains inside our community with CSIRO, the AIMS Institute, Gabrumpa, Dry Tropics, we have all the knowledge in our city, and it's time to have those advisory committees that direct councillors so that we properly represent the community.
I hate to be a boring businessman, but I'm not going to make any policies until we know what it's going to cost the ratepayers. And there are thousands of options that we can put in place to deal with emissions. It's whether you want to run down that track and pay the cost, or what's the negotiated middle ground to it. So there would be places around the world that are similar to ours that have policies in place and are getting success out of it. Let's see what the others do instead of trying to recreate a wheel we don't know what it looks like. But the first thing is I need to see what the budget's going to do in May if I was as successful as mayor, and then we can start to put some policies around things that come from your initiatives.
Thank you, candidates.